The investigator positioned the photograph on the table before us, causing my stomach to plummet. My father's visage returned, his left cheek disfigured by swelling and purple hues, his eye almost closed due to what appeared to be severe bruising. I encountered my father merely 3 days prior, void of any signs of trauma or inflammation. "Your sister supplied these," the detective stated, observing my response meticulously. "She's filed a formal report accusing elder abuse, alleging that you inflicted these injuries on Tuesday when you were with your father alone." I vividly recall the sensation of that instant, the louder humming of the fluorescent light, the feeling of the air growing thinner. Realizing that my own sister had entered a police station with fabricated evidence and accused me of battering our 82-year-old father, it struck me then that she had orchestrated this. Every aspect was meticulously arranged to be my downfall. Unbeknownst to Selene, her fabricated proof would ultimately lead to her own demise. A fascinating thought as you follow this narrative. The National Registry of Exonerations in the U.S. has documented over 3,000 instances of wrongful convictions, with false accusations playing a role in around 60% of them. The University of Colorado Boulder's Digital Forensics Department is revolutionizing the field. When a photo is manipulated using software such as Photoshop, it saves hidden metadata that discloses timestamps, editing history, and subtle signs of pixel-level alterations. Forensic analysts can scrutinize these digital imprints to determine if an image is genuine or fabricated. In today's account, a woman attempted to falsify evidence against her brother using doctored bruise photos. However, she didn't consider that a forensic expert would uncover each and every edit she made. The identical photos my sister crafted to incriminate me eventually led to her arrest. This narrates the tale of how my sister attempted to imprison me utilizing Photoshop, and how forensic examination unveiled not just her deceptions, but a financial conspiracy against our father, spanning almost 4 years. My father, Harold, amassed his fortune traditionally, having managed a regional plumbing supply company for 43 years, growing it from a solitary warehouse to 17 locations across the Midwest. Upon retiring at 75, he sold the business for close to $4 million. With his investments and real estate holdings, his net worth was approximately $6 million. My sister Selene had long felt entitled to a larger portion of that estate than me, not due to any logical basis. We were both his children, both nurtured with the same prospects. But because Selene cultivated an entire persona around being the responsible one, the one who made sacrifices for the family. Selene's spouse, Darren, repeatedly needed financial assistance from your father for his unprofitable ventures: 3 restaurants that failed, a bankrupt car wash, a consulting firm without clients. Despite this, Selene would present these bailouts as investments, rather than admitting her husband's lack of success. Conversely, I pursued a career in logistics management post-college and rose to the position of operations director for a manufacturing company. My wife, Meredith, worked as a pediatric nurse, living frugally, saving diligently, and requesting minimal financial aid from your father beyond what he voluntarily offered during holidays. When your father started showing signs of dementia 3 years ago, I thought Selene and I would equally divide caregiving duties. This belief was my initial error. Selene proposed to manage your father's finances instead. She commented that you were overwhelmed by work, sounding overly worried. Offering help, she suggested handling your father's bills, maintaining the house, coordinating with doctors, and managing appointments. At first, it appeared thoughtful given Dad's gradual cognitive decline. Unbeknownst to me, she skillfully inserted herself between my father and his finances. She assumed power of attorney, added her name to bank accounts, and started intercepting his mail, claiming organization of correspondence as the reason. Initially, the financial manipulation appeared subtle, but later I uncovered its extent. Approximately $300,000 were drained from our father's accounts through unseen investment transfers, phantom caregiver expenses, and non-existent home repairs. Before anyone noticed, Selene needed me out of the way, hence her filing a police report against me. On the day in question, we had our usual lunch at Dad's favorite diner he'd been frequenting for 40 years, where they still addressed him as Mr. Harold and remembered his order by heart. He was in good spirits, lucid and cheerful, regaling me with familiar stories about Mom. I dropped him off around 2 p.m. Selene's car was parked in the driveway, a common occurrence as she often visited to check on things. We exchanged casual greetings before I left. 3 days later, Detective Ruiz displayed photos of my father's injured face and read me my rights. She alleges that the mistreatment has been persistent, stated Detective Ruiz. She alleges that your father is intimidated to confront you, that you've threatened him. That's preposterous, I retorted, my voice trembling. I would never harm my father. I cherish him. These pictures, I don't recognize them. They are fabricated. He didn't have any bruises when I last saw him. She has accumulated proof dating back several months, pictures, a journal detailing troubling events. She appears to have been meticulously preparing a case, building a case. This revelation chilled me like a wave of icy water. Selin hadn't impulsively accused me of abuse. She had strategized this, contrived evidence, and crafted a paper trail intended to portray me as a monster. The question that lingered was, why now? What sparked this change? I was temporarily released for investigation, but the impact was swift and devastating. Selin contacted our extended family before the police had even concluded their interrogation with me. By the evening, I had received 17 texts from family members inquiring about my actions towards my father, causing distress. My cousin cut off contact on social media. My aunt left a voicemail labeling me as unwell. Meredith served as my support. As I descended into shock and anger, she stayed grounded, concentrating on what was important, proving my innocence. The images, she said that night, her nursing expertise providing logical insight. Those bruises seem unnatural to me. The shading is off. Real bruises that severe would exhibit signs of aging, yellowing at the edges, darker centers. These appear uniform, as if someone had painted them. The following morning, I contacted Arthur Blackwood, a lawyer known for his expertise in both elder law and criminal defense. His reputation was well known. Meticulous, comprehensive, costly, yet worth every penny. After examining the initial documents, Arthur suggested the first step would be an independent medical evaluation of your father. If there were genuine bruises, they'd either still be present or healing. The lack of such signs would provide our first piece of evidence. 2 days later, this examination took place. Dr. Annette Foster, a geriatrician skilled in forensic medical analysis, spent an hour with your father. Her conclusion was clear. There were no bruises on your father's face or body, no healing wounds, no sensitivity, no sign of past physical harm within the past few weeks. When presented with this medical report, the prosecutor should have dropped the case instantly. However, Selin persisted. Lawyer Philip Mercer contended that I had manipulated the evidence, coerced my father into silence. Yet the allegation was ludicrous, as it implied that Dr. Foster's examination was biased due to my influence. Court appointed Foster, not me, but it served Selin's purpose of prolonging the investigation and keeping me in a state of legal uncertainty. Arthur revised our approach. He suggested going on the offensive. The photographs form the basis of her allegation. If we can show they were tampered with, we don't just clear your name, but expose her for committing criminal fraud. We proposed Dr. Raymond Osai, a digital forensics expert who consults for various law enforcement agencies nationwide. Known for his expertise in detecting image manipulation, ranging from Instagram filters to advanced Photoshop edits, Dr. Osai was our choice. I delivered the photographs Selin had submitted to the police to him. Dr. Osai guaranteed a preliminary analysis within a week. In that time, I delved into something that had puzzled me since this ordeal began. What prompted Selin to assault me at this specific moment? What was she hiding? 2 years prior, my father's caregiver Beatrice was obtained via an agency that Selin endorsed. She would visit our home thrice weekly, assisting Dad with meals, minor chores, and medication administration. Kind-hearted and proficient, I found out during a call to the caregiving agency that she was distressed by the situation unfolding. "I've never observed any bruises on your father," Beatrice shared over coffee at a neutral venue. "Your sister instructed me not to speak with you, but this is unacceptable. You're a caring son. He always brightens up whenever you visit." She then disclosed information that altered everything. "I am unsure if it holds significance, but your sister has been making me sign timesheets for more hours than I actually work. She said it was for insurance reasons. At the time, I paid little attention to it. It transpired that the timesheet Selin was billing Dad's accounts for caregiver hours not actually worked, representing a minor fraud. However, this revelation provided me with a leverage point. I shared the data with Arthur, who swiftly summoned my father's financial records via subpoena. This procedure spanned 10 days due to the ongoing investigation and the necessity of a court order. The revelations were astounding. During the last 3.5 years, Selin moved $340,000 from my father's accounts into her own, and Darren's under false pretenses such as home repairs, medical expenses, investment management fees, and caregiver costs. These transactions appeared minor enough to evade bank reviews, around $4,000 or $7,500 each, but their cumulative effect was systematic embezzlement. Celine had not levied abuse allegations against me because she was safeguarding our father. Instead, she targeted me as I was getting too close to uncovering her misdeeds towards him. 17 days after his assessment began, Dr. Ose delivered his report. I scrutinized it thrice before the ramifications became clear. Celine had manipulated the photographs she submitted to the police using Adobe Photoshop. Analysis conducted by Ose revealed several inconsistencies. Initially, the metadata showed that the images were supposedly captured over months on Celine's iPhone, yet they all appeared to have been produced within a 72-hour span, 2 weeks prior to her filing a police report. Secondly, pixel analysis suggested manipulation. The bruises exhibited layering, indicating they had been digitally added using brush tools. The color saturation was uncharacteristic of natural bruising, and the edges showed signs of digital artifacts typical of manual editing rather than original photography. Lastly, Dr. Ose found the original, untouched images hidden in the metadata. These source images depicted my father's face without any bruises, suggesting that Celine had doctored innocent photos of him using Photoshop, falsely submitting these altered images as evidence for a crime I did not commit. Inextricably linked with Arthur's motion to clear me of charges was a criminal complaint against Celine, accusing her of filing a false report with the police, falsifying evidence, and perjury. Upon reviewing Dr. Osai's report, the prosecutor's office took swift action, dropping all charges against me within 3 days and launching an official investigation into Celine instead. This encounter didn't transpire in a courtroom. Rather, it unfolded in my father's living room, following the initial accusation by 3 weeks. Detective Ruiz, accompanied by 2 uniformed officers, arrived to arrest my sister at that time. I wasn't meant to be there, as the police had advised me to stay away due to our family dispute. However, Arthur had ensured my presence as a witness for the victim, citing my father's dementia as a reason to have someone he trusted present during any police engagement. When Celine visited for her weekly check-in, she found me seated in her father's preferred armchair. My father was seated in his recliner, engrossed in a nature documentary featuring elephants. Unaware of the impending event, my sister's expression underwent a swift transformation from astonishment to fury, followed by an unconvincing composure that didn't reach her eyes. "What are you doing here?" she interrogated. "You're not allowed near him. The charges were dismissed," I explained softly. "3 days ago, that's inconceivable," Philip stated. However, he was mistaken. "The prosecutor had reviewed the forensic analysis of your digitally altered photographs, the ones you manipulated in Photoshop. For the first time since this ordeal started, I observed my sister comprehend that her scheme had collapsed." "That's preposterous," she retorted, yet her voice quivered. "I don't understand what you're referring to." "The metadata, Celine, the pixel analysis, the ones without any signs of injury, you added them artificially. You concocted proof to implicate me in a crime that was fabricated." At this point, she headed towards the door, and it was then that Detective Ruiz entered. Detective Ruiz apprehended Celine Matthews for submitting a false police report, falsifying evidence, and perjury. She has the right to refrain from speaking. Any statement she makes can be utilized against her in court. The events that transpired will stay etched in my memory, not because they were enjoyable, but due to their revelation of my sister's dysfunction. As Detective Ruiz read her rights, Celine let out primal noises, then erupted with words, a torrential outburst of rage and self-justification. She was planning to implicate Nathan in it all. Everything she had fought for over 40 years, he had received effortlessly. Dad promised me a share of the estate, but he reneged under the influence of his deteriorating mind, manipulated by Nathan. The second officer moved to restrain her, but Celine resisted, still shrieking, "I am entitled to that money. I've been looking after him. I gave up everything so Nathan could live his flawless life with his flawless spouse. This family owes me." Detective Ruiz kept his expression neutral, but I noticed a fleeting sign of distaste. "Ma'am, you need to compose yourself. You're making things more difficult for yourself. He can't do this to me. Nathan can't do this to me." My father lifted his gaze from the documentary, perplexed by the disturbance. His gaze shifted between Celine, the officers, and me, seeking understanding in a fragmented memory. "What's going on?" he asked me. "Why is everyone shouting?" I kneeled beside his chair and held his hand. It's all right, Dad. Everything's fine. The police are simply handling something. Is Selene in trouble? I glanced at my sister. My sister who had attempted to ruin my life, who had swindled a large sum of money from our father, who had fabricated proof to accuse me of a crime that didn't exist outside her mind. Yes, Dad, I replied. Selene is in a difficult situation. The legal proceedings against Selene progressed quickly. Confronted with substantial forensic evidence, her lawyer suggested she accept a plea bargain. We were innocent of filing a false police report and charges of felony fraud related to the theft from our father's accounts. The charge of perjury was dismissed as part of the deal. She was sentenced to 18 months in state prison, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. She was instructed to repay the full amount of the $30,400 she had stolen. Although given her financial status, this restitution could take decades to fulfill. Darren filed for divorce before her court hearing. He claimed ignorance about Selene's financial crimes, a claim later disproven by further investigation. He faced charges as an accessory, eventually receiving 2 years of probation and community service. The response from my extended family was multifaceted. 3 weeks ago, the same relatives who labeled me a monster reached out apologetically via texts and voicemails. My aunt cried and begged for my pardon, while my cousin removed the block on our social media accounts and sent an extensive message expressing remorse for their faith in Selene's fabricated stories. I haven't granted forgiveness to any of them yet. I comprehend why they believed my sister's claims of family abuse were genuine, but none contacted me first or asked for my perspective. They had already formed a verdict based solely on Selene's manipulated narrative. My father's dementia worsens daily, and more often than not, he forgets that Selene was imprisoned. When he inquires about her, I tell him she's occupied with work. It seems compassionate to spare him the burden of remembering her actions. I am now his primary caregiver, aided by Beatrice, who continues to visit thrice weekly. I've installed cameras in my home not out of paranoia, but as a precaution against future unfounded accusations. All interactions with my father, visitors, and even medical appointments are recorded and logged. It's tiring, yet essential. Recovery from the financial loss has been only partial. We managed to retrieve about $180,000 of the stolen money from accounts that Selene and Darren hadn't already depleted. The rest was spent on their lifestyle, failed businesses, and their desperate attempts to project success. Despite this, my father's estate remains substantial, ensuring he will be well taken care of until his passing. However, a sizable part of what he had built throughout his life was stolen by his own daughter. Occasionally, people inquire about my feelings regarding the incident. They anticipate anger, and indeed there is anger. They expect satisfaction at Selene's punishment, and I did feel some of that, but mostly I grieve. I mourn for the sister I believed I understood, the girl who taught me bike riding and shielded me from blame for breaking Mom's cherished vase. That woman, if indeed she ever truly existed, is no more. In her place stands someone who concocted proof to ruin her own brother and pilfered from our ailing father. I mourn for my father, who will never comprehend why his daughter wound up in prison. When he regains clarity, he inquires about her absence. When he's confused, he occasionally thinks it was him who made a mistake. Dementia does not adhere to logical stories. I mourn for the family we once had, our Sunday meals and holiday celebrations, and the unquestioned belief that blood equaled loyalty. That family ceased to exist the day Selene stepped into a police station with manipulated evidence, aiming to wreck my life. However, there's a lesson I've discovered. Endurance itself is a type of triumph. I didn't shatter when she assaulted me. I persisted despite my family's acceptance of her falsehoods, confronting them with facts and proof. In the end, truth prevailed. This past Sunday, Meredith and I dined with Dad for our routine meal. He was in a good state that day, acknowledging both of us, recalling Meredith's name and asking about her hospital work with an unexpected precision. As I departed, he said, "You're a good son," and his weaker-than-usual grip squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you." Whether Dad recalls the accusations against me or comprehends why she left, in that living room moment bathed in evening light, I felt a sense of tranquility. My sister attempted to strip me of my reputation, liberty, and father-son bond. She crafted false evidence meticulously and utilized it as a weapon against me, yet she was unsuccessful. Not due to the flawlessness of the justice system, but because I triumphed. She didn't succeed due to good prevailing over evil. Instead, she faltered because of carelessness with manipulated metadata in Photoshop. This happened because she underestimated the capabilities of forensic technology. She assumed nobody would scrutinize her deceptions closely enough. However, her main downfall was my refusal to conform to the narrative she attempted to construct. I refused to become the antagonist in her concocted tale. In the end, the truth, thoroughly documented, forensically authenticated, and legally validated, exposed who the true villain had been all along.